This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Hey, welcome in here. Today is special. It is the first day of summer. This afternoon at 3:50 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, the summer solstice arrived. And the first full day of summer is tomorrow, the 21st, my son Levi's 36th birthday, and our last day, 40 years in this studio.
Yeah.
And a couple of guys who were here when that all started 40 years ago in this room. The guy brought me to town, hired me, Kyle Cantrell, and Keith Bilbrey are coming by to share stories. There are lots of stories that involve Wolfman Jack's years here that we can't tell.
Oh,
but if you'd like to see this studio with Wolfman, you're making that up. I am not making it up. And Lonnie Napier, who later would produce my syndicated stuff at Great American Country and Bill Cody's Classic Country Weekend, Lonnie was his producer, was Wolfman's producer.
Oh, really?
And Lonnie is sitting right where Charlie is, and Wolfman wouldn't sit over here on the broadcast side. He would sit on a chair or a stool next to Lonnie and hold the stand microphone in his hand and do his Wolfman thing.
Oh, really?
It's a thing of beauty. You got to see it. But it's in this room. That's just a little bit of the history that's happened over those 40 years in this room.
And we're going to our new place, the A-Cup House. I don't know. I haven't been over to see just how much more they've, progressed. I was there over the weekend illegally. I just went in because it was unlocked. But it looks fantastic. And I think that Mr. Acuff would be very, very proud of what we are doing. What's happening right now?
He's moving the duck feed.
Are you stealing my duck feed?
Yes.
Okay, so for anybody that's following along on social media, we have a family of ducks that I'm very concerned about that are right here.
Wildlife, Kelly. Wild life.
That was a heavier bag of food that I was anticipating when I picked it up from that angle.
I know.
Charlie is now filing a workman's comp claim.
Little
thank you.
Tommy John surgery now.
Wild life, not tame life.
Those are my babies.
Tennessee wildlife folks.
You can listen. I've called the TWRA. They haven't called me back. These are my babies. I've raised them since they were hatchlings. We've seen them out here when they were just little fuzzy things, and now they're real ducks. And I feed them. And I probably shouldn't be feeding them granola from Target. So I went yesterday to Tractor Supply, and I walked in and I said, "Sir, this is going to sound strange, but I have a family of ducks that I have adopted." And he goes, "Right this way." He knew exactly. All the crazy Williamson County moms feed the wildlife. He knew exactly where to take me, and he showed me the duck food, and I bought it. I bought a 10-pound bag. And I'm going to lure them into a dog carrier to save them and take them with us.
I'm Charlie Mattos for Demore Duck Food. If you're adopting a family of ducks, I'll tell you, this is the food to go to. Use the code WSM for 20% off your next online order.
Has no one explained to Kelly that ducks
They can fly. They can fly.
They
but
don't need to be in a carrier. Don't do it.
Listen.
I hope TWRA is listening and they arrest you and cuff you, and we catch it all on security video here at Gaylord Opryland on our last day in this studio.
You kind of need a viral moment.
It will
right
right up there with the night that Charlie Douglas swung the alarm door open and hit Vern Gosden in the head. And he had to go
Nearly
get
killed
stitches.
him. Nearly killed him.
Had to leave and go get
Listen.
stitches.
Just be assured, if you're following along on social media, you'll get to see all the hilarity. But yes. All right, let's talk entertainment headlines. I do have a lot.
Wildlife.
Leave me alone. Let me live my life, Bill Cody. I love these ducks, and I'm going to save them whether they want to be saved or not. Kane Brown had a baby. We're going to tell you about that. Mark Chestnut, emergency surgery, an update there. And there's only one artist that's had more time on the country albums chart than Morgan Wallen. We'll tell you when we think Morgan Wallen might actually take the #1 spot.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
He hails from where the Black River feeds into Lake Michigan, South Haven, Michigan. Go to Kalamazoo, make a hard left, and when you get to the water, you're there. When you're in the water, you've gone too far. Nate Barnes, good morning and welcome to Coffee Country and Cody. It's good to see you, man.
So good to see you guys. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
And he has been willing to our engineer, Jason Cooper. He has been willing to help with loadout, just so you know, over the next couple of days as we leave here and make our transition to our new home at Roy Acup's house on the Opry Plaza.
Wasn't that part of the deal? Like, hey, you can come in these last 2 days, but you got to take something with us when we go out.
Anything you guys want, just give me some lunch and we're good. We're ready.
He's still at that stage.
Well, let's get to know you just a little bit. We've never had, to my knowledge, a blueberry farmer on the show. We had a cherry farmer, cherry picker, Cruz Contreras, grew up in Michigan, picking cherries with his family. But blueberries and nuclear power are your background. Please explain. Those must have been some blueberries, is all I know.
Well, Bill, it's the best blueberries you'll ever have. Yeah, I got real lucky. You know, we got there was a time where I'm from, 90% of the nation's blueberries were processed and grown right where I was from.
No kidding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so that was just a normal way of life. That's what we do. It's being a blueberry farmer is like being a country mega superstar where I'm from. It's a big deal,
especially if you're good at it.
Especially good at it, and or working at a nuclear power plant. It's it keeps our town running, keeps our people fed and the economy going. So it's a big deal to be part of those things.
So it was both those family. Did your family do that before you came along and you were kind of born into it?
A lot of my family actually did more of the nuclear power plant. My stepdaddy, he was who just retired 45 years as a lead mechanic. Oh, wow. And him kind of paved the way for that for me and all of us. And in fact, I remember him driving me to the power plant when I was 12 years old. And he said, "Nate, this could be all yours if you wanted it." And by that time, I was already working. I was already on roofs with my uncle at 12.
How about that?
And I said, there ain't no way you'll ever see me at this power plant because I want to be a country singer. And somehow it was just part of my life story. And when I was 18, I got into it and did it for over a decade and did very well at it and loved it.
Well, you have to have something to support your country music habit.
That's right. That's right.
That's a very true story.
Yeah.
It's funny you were talking about blueberries. There's a guy. I got a guy. There's a guy here, and his name is Mr. Blueberry, and he's from Michigan, and he goes to Michigan. He takes orders, and he gets it straight from one of the farms, and then drives it down and delivers it to your door. They're pricey, but they are the best blueberries I've ever had.
Yeah, I've never heard that guy. I want that guy.
You need to get in on this racket.
I want to get on that racket.
I'm just saying.
Mr. Blueberry?
Mr. Blueberry,
okay.
Not even making this up. Right. I have friends that take orders, and they're like, hey, he's making a run. You want
listen,
some?
I'm going to make y'all a promise here, and I hate making promises, but I'm going to make you a promise. You guys are leaving here. You're going to your next amazing spot. This is such a legendary spot. This is the first time I ever got to do it, which is an honor. Thank you for having me. But when you guys settle down and get in your next spot, I'll send you guys all fresh blueberries from
we'd love it.
We'll take you up on that.
We would love it.
Okay.
I do love a blueberry.
What I love about your story is, because in the music business, as you well know, there's some ups and there's some downs, and it's a long time in between successes sometimes, and it's a struggle. But I think when you have actually truly worked for a living, it makes everything in perspective. And it's like hopping in a Sprinter van or a bus and going to play 3 shows and singing to thousands of people and playing for 90 minutes. This is not that bad. This is a pretty good. I got a pretty good gig now because I've worked.
Yeah.
Is there perspective there?
Very, very much. I got really blessed growing up the way I did, and the people that were around me, and the men and women. They just taught me so much about life and really how to live an amazing life. I had a dear mentor of mine said, hey, always find out who you are and what your dreams are, and always go after them, but learn how to make a living first. If you don't know how to do that at the highest level that you can within yourself, for you and your family, you're not going to have what it takes to do the other. And I took that serious. And to put it in perspective, I remember one of the biggest honors I got to do, and I've country music and wanting to do this and be a singer, be a musician, be a part of something that touches people's lives was something I've wanted to do since I was a kid. And I've always had that in me. But one of the biggest honors of my life was being able to work side by side with my stepdad in that power plant. And, we had $1 million that the company, the power plant would have lost if we didn't put together a piece of equipment that cost mega amounts of money on top of a nuclear reactor that we had to be done within 24 hours. That's over 700 people were counting on me and him, and we got it done. So the pressure of and perspective is like, let's do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that. It's that Super Bowl. We won the Super Bowl kind of thing.
Yeah.
That
So
feeling
so
of that
pressure,
team effort.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about pressure and highs and lows and staying here. You know, I had a friend always say, "It's great to be high. It's not fun to be low, but it's amazing to be right here." So I try my best to be right here in my life.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That work ethic certainly helps in the country music business because
Yes,
it can
sir.
be so trying and so euphoric and so disappointing, what you just described. Staying in the middle is tough.
Yeah.
But with that background, it certainly helps.
Yeah, but I'm surrounded by so many great people. My team here in town, and everybody's been so amazing to me. So
I saw something to the effect that Sundays would be Motown on the radio and your grandmother sitting at the piano playing church hymns.
yes, sir. Yeah,
And your
yeah.
grandfather,
Yeah.
who hailed from Tupelo, Mississippi,
Yes, sir.
would tell you stories about his life as a young man down south.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we would.
And they must have gone north for a better life, which a lot
did.
of people did.
They did. They went to Chicago actually,
Okay.
and found each other there, and fell in love and created a family, and then decided to get out of the city, and that's how they found Southwest Michigan, and yeah, we would have these incredible dinners and just incredible stories. One of the best storytellers I ever met in my life.
Roughly, when was your grandfather born? Like what?
19. Oh, I'm gonna get this wrong.
50s?
No.
I'm trying to think if he would have crossed paths with Elvis at any point in
No,
Tupelo, Mississippi.
19. I want to say either late 30s or
Oh,
early 40s.
like way before, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been crazy if
Early
he would have
40s.
crossed paths with like Vernon Presley, though, at some point, had no idea who the man was? I mean,
Yeah. Well,
because Tupelo's a small place.
Well,
you know?
it's pretty interesting. And I don't say this too often, but he grew up dear friends with B.B. King.
Oh, wow.
B.B. King and him were, and a lot of those guys, even like Muddy Waters and Bobby Blue Band, like a lot of those guys were very, very close. And reason why my granddaddy actually went to Chicago is because, that was at the time B.B. was going to Chicago for that movement and all what was happening. And he's like, you need to come with us. And he did. And
Chess Records in Chicago,
and
right?
he was a big part of our lives. My family, my mom's, all that, and his kids. And
How about that?
and I got to, it's insane. I got to meet him when I was 15, or the first time I met him, I was 12, and he put Lucille in my hand.
wow.
Well, I kept looking at legendary Lucille, and he's like, "Son, you wanna play it?" I'm like,
No.
"No." And he's like, "No, pick it up." And I picked it up, and I almost dropped it because I was so nervous.
I can only imagine.
Oh,
So yeah.
So great.
It comes out tomorrow. We're going to debut it for the world right now on WSM Radio and all our Circle streaming platforms at circlecountry.com. Love in the Country. Did you write this or co-write it?
No, sir, I didn't write it. Ernest, Ryan Hurd, and Josh, Wilmore wrote that song. It was an incredible song that I got that came to me about a couple years ago, and once I heard it, I just completely fell in love with this song.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
Nate Barnes is on WSM as well. Our guest this morning, Love in the Country, we heard before the break. You pulled a full list of writers over there, Charlie. Do you still have that out?
I do. I want to ask you as well if we could pop up the single art for this, because I saw this cover and I'm like, okay, if that were me, maybe if I could get one take and then I'd be in traction. Like, how many shots?
And
did
how
it
do you
take
know he
to get-
wasn't?
Well, that's a good point. But was that one time, or was this a lot of effort involved in getting that photo?
One time.
Okay.
Okay, now, here's the question. Starsky and Hutch or Bo and Luke Duke? What were you going for?
Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Starsky and Hutch, definitely.
If you're of a certain age
Yes. That is so good.
in primetime television,
That's perfect.
you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What kind of car was that? It looks
I
like.
think it was an Impala, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It was a cool car.
For everyone listening on radio that's like, what are they even talking
Yeah.
about? You are basically hood sliding across an Impala. but looking right at the camera.
That's right.
And you did it in one take. That's
Yes.
impressive.
Yeah, great shot of it on Nate's website. By the way, Ryan Hurd, along with Jordan Schmidt, Ernest Smith, and Jeffrey Warburton were the writers on that single.
Ernest Smith, known as Ernest.
Perhaps. Yes. He likes to. Maybe he said Ernie Smith just didn't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't see, no matter what happened, at my peak, being Ernie Smith was not going to work out as a country music star.
I think Ernest was.
So
He did the right thing.
Yeah, the only other Ernie I can think of right off the top of my head is Ernest Ashworth, who went by Ernie.
Oh, yeah.
Talkback Trembling Lips
Yep.
at the Grand Ole Opry. Had the lip suit. Had a rhinestone lip suit, Kelly Sutton.
What?
I would love that. I would love that. I was thinking Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street. That was the only place that I could go with that. So, again, not applicable. He made the right call. Good job, Ernest.
He did. He did.
So tell me about meeting Jason Sellers in 2020, early 20. And the pandemic kicked in March of that year. So was this like in the winter months or just happenstance in 2020 later or what?
Well, it was in 2019. It was the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the summer of 2019. And actually, I was on a way to vacation in Gatlinburg and just got done from doing a refueling outage at the power plant. And a buddy of mine at the power plant said, "Hey, I got a friend I grew up with who's a songwriter in Nashville. Go hang out with him. A guy named Rob Hatch." Aww. And so on the way there, I called Rob and said, "Hey, love to come meet you." He said, "Come on over." And met him at his house, and we're just talking. And then out of nowhere, that's when Jason Sellers, comes randomly walking in the door and was wondering what the heck I was doing in the town. And I told him I was on vacation. He said, "You got a guitar?" I said, "I do." He said, "Go get it." And I played him some songs, and that moment changed my whole life. And from there, I met Benny Brown and Paul Brown, and they just signed me right on the spot.
And you're on Quartz Hill Records.
And Quartz Hill Records.
So people know.
Yeah.
And I got to town in 1994, and about 3 years after I got here, Jason Sellers was an artist.
Yeah.
And Jason Sellers cut a thing called I'm Your Man.
I'm Your Man, yeah.
And then the other one I remember is A Matter of Time, which that was the second one. And I love that cat. A lot of comparisons to Vince Gill with his voice.
Ooh,
just
that's good,
extraordinary.
Yeah.
That's Nate Barnes. It had a Springsteen feel to it for me.
Oh, yeah. I like
Especially
that.
when you get to the chorus.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It usually is. And the first new music from you in like 3 years, we first met you. Charlie reminded me via Zoom in February of 2021 when nobody could come to the studio and we had to do those stinking Zoom interviews.
Yeah.
And I did not particularly enjoy that period of my 50-plus year career, let me tell you.
Yeah. That was
something about these moments in studio.
I know.
Sitting this close and listening and looking you in the eye just makes all the difference.
I have to ask, as the resident Catholic in the room right now, the tattoo on your right hand, I'm sure the folks watching on Circle have noticed it. It looks like a rosary from how far I am.
Yeah.
It's got to be a story, right?
Well, I'll tell you, it is a rosary, but it's my grandma is a good old Catholic, one of the most graceful women I've ever met in my life. She passed on last year, but when I was a kid, she watched me a lot, like most grandmas do, and I thought I was a little angel, and come to find out I really wasn't at this day, and she couldn't handle it anymore. And I don't know what I did, but it was horrible, and she couldn't take any of it anymore. And back then, we used to get whoopings with paddles or switches.
Oh,
yeah.
That,
or
my grandmother
belts.
had the fly swatter.
A
metal fly swatter do some damage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, my grandma, she loved the paddle with the holes in it, and she grabbed that, and I remember her grabbing a rosary in the other hand and wrapping it around, and started saying the Hail Mary while she whooped me. And
I will never say the Hail Mary again without that visual.
And it stuck with me, and I always said, so when I turned 18, I got a tattoo of this to remind me of her, to keep me on the straight and
that's
narrow.
wonderful.
Well, I'm going to get one with a fly swatter. That was my mother's weapon of choice.
Doesn't look the same. Yeah. That's great.
Well, thank God it wasn't Our Father. That's a longer prayer. You would have really gotten one.
Yeah, that's true. And I love that.
You worked with Jimmy Yeary, too, yeah?
Yes.
Tell me about that, because famously he's married to Sonia Isaacs of the Isaacs, Grand Ole Opry family members.
Jimmy Year, oh my gosh, what a legend, what a incredible talent. I mean, he's been such a big champion for me here in this town, and being able to be in rooms with him and write with him has been such a incredible honor. I can just listen to him just play guitar 24/7 and just be amazing. And he got with him and Sellers was my first single ever to go to radio. You Ain't Pretty a few years back, and I got to write that with those folks. And I love Jimmy Year, man. I love him so much, and I miss him. I haven't seen him in a minute, but love you, Jimmy.
Well, it's great to get to know you, Nate. Thanks very much. Are you a Nathan?
My mama calls me Nathan.
Okay.
And but most people call me Nate. But
is it middle name Nathan or what?
Nathan? Nathan. Yeah. All right. Yeah. You can call me Nathan.
You can call me Ray. Yeah. You can call me RJ.
Just play my record.
The only story that I could tell you that would eclipse a hummingbird on a stick would be Hardy getting a lip tattoo. And since you didn't get to see it, I want to make sure that anyone that's watching us streaming, you get to see it. Okay. I mean, literally take your fingers and roll your bottom lip down. Right here. And on the inside of your bottom lip.
Now take a pen.
It's kind of hard to It's hard to talk when you're
bobby pin or a needle and start poking it.
You know how bad it hurts when you bite your lip accidentally? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can you fathom what that felt like? Okay, so he got Jim Bob tattooed on his bottom lip, an ode to his latest single. There's the picture you got to see. His wife responded on social media, so you're telling me I'm going to be kissing Jim Bob from now on?
He should have gotten Country Music Made Me Do It.
Right? Also, the tattoo artist, there was a tattoo artist that said it's probably going to fade because any place where you are repeatedly, your skin is rubbing up against your teeth or anything, it's going to fade. So if he wants to keep it, he's going to have to have it redone in a couple of years. No, I don't think that's the thing. Okay. Congratulations, though, Hardy, on your new ink, I guess.
I guess.
I don't know.
I thought he was just a big fan of the Waltons. It was Jim Bob on the show. See it? No. Okay.
I was there.
Lost references for 200, Alex.
Dagger through the heart.
One only child attacks another on Coffee, Country, and Cody. Hope we go viral with that. WSM Radio.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Hit me, Charlie. Singer. Songwriter.
Performer.
Tequila guy.
Oh, that's better than performer. I like that.
Performer. Jon Wolfe is back.
Wow. I don't know what to think about that intro.
Did you give him tequila? What happened? Something went on during the break.
Thank you.
The last time you were here, man, you were headed to the Grand Ole Opry for your debut, and it was I remember that being such an emotional morning for you in studio, long before you got to the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. That was in 2022. Mm-hmm. Charlie went back and recollected you first came to the studio.
2015, so we're almost at a decade now.
I've been doing this a minute.
As have
Feels
we.
like yesterday.
As have we, John.
So let's go back to that night. And after you left here, what went on the rest of the day and your performance on the stage of the Opry? What do you remember?
Well, I mean, just I think about that as beginning really when you take the first tour. And I kind of talk about this as kind of funny because I feel like the folks at the Opry kind of set you up on this a little bit. So you kind of go through the dressing rooms and you're going, wow, this is really great. This is cool. Oh, wow, Marty Stewart's. And then you get to the stage and your palms are getting sweaty. You're starting to see the stage. And then they take you to the dressing room where you're going to be that night. That's the sort of the first performance dressing room. And I don't know if people have talked about this, but on the wall are these quotes of famous country singers talking about how nervous they are. And when I saw Alan Jackson saying it's the most nervous night of his life, I was like, did they do this on purpose? Because now I was okay rolling into this, and now I'm freaking out. So
I feel like they were trying to do it to make you feel better. Like even Alan was nervous, but clearly it had the reverse effect.
I think Taylor Swift has a quote.
She
in
does.
That dressing room, doesn't
yeah.
she? Yeah.
I mean, I probably have one that's terrifying as well. So, but it really is something that starts on that first tour. Touring the Opry, and then the experience for me was it was really just a big learning experience. So you're just trying to absorb it. Of course, being here with you guys before the performance, and I guess I've been one of those guys that you know, every country artist has their own path, and we all sort of, I guess, self-internally think we have the hardest one or whatever it might be, right? But I mean, I've had a, you know, kind of a rough go in country music in terms of kind of carving my own path, and so to be able to step on that stage, it really meant a lot to me. You know, it really is something that I think about every day. And
had you been there before as a fan in the seats, or come as a guest with anyone backstage?
I came as a guest.
Okay.
My buddy Craig Campbell.
Oh yeah,
probably the best country singer I know. He's really amazing.
Sponsor of the show, Coffee, Country, and Cody, Grindstone Cowboy.
Yeah, man. So I've been there with him, and you know, I think at the time it still wasn't hitting home. Mm-hmm. It was really that day, and just the preparation for me was spending as much time as I could in the backstage.
You know, the interesting part what I found too is we've had a lot of artists who've had, like, you know, platinum records, #1 records, but when they play the Opry, it's like this incredible validation for their family. You know, it's like the family says, well, now that's impressive.
Yeah.
Now that is something there. Because
especially-
you get to bring so many, it's just so emotional for everybody, you know?
Yeah, and you hear it especially from the older generations, like grandparents, great-grandparents,
Oh,
Yeah.
because it was the epitome
Right.
of entertainment. We're
That's
talking
the
about
first time that they go, hey, you don't have to go get a job. I think you're doing okay.
Yeah.
And we weren't playing. We didn't have artists playing stadiums
Right.
back in those days,
Right.
and filling arenas. That wasn't that. This was and remains the epitome, emotional epitome, I think, for
And
country music.
it's such a busy day. From the moment you get there, the camera crews and everybody's following you. Did you take a moment? What was the moment where it actually settled on you as to what was happening?
I mean, I think honestly, it was after I walked off stage, and you know, of course, Kelly, you were there, and it definitely hit me at the end of my second song. Mm-hmm. It was really a heavy moment for me, and you know, all my family was there, my stepfather, and we didn't do a whole lot after the show. We did go to the Nashville Palace and drink some cold beer. That was that.
Rite
was
of passage. That was nice. Either that or John A's. Yeah.
It was pretty cool, and one of the folks that came out, you guys, of course, are familiar with Green Hall.
Oh, sure.
And Mary Jane, who owns Green Hall, and saw George Strait come up. All of a sudden, we're at the Nashville Palace, and everybody goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "That's the Queen of Green." Mary Jane flew out to my Grand Ole Opry debut.
How about that?
And that was so cool. So it really...
What was your first Green Hall experience?
Okay, so that goes back more than 10 years ago, probably borderline 18 years ago. And 2 Tons of Steel. Do you remember those guys? Western swing, kind of rockabilly.
Yes, I do.
They used to do 2 Tons Tuesdays. And I would go down there, and they'd get me up on Tuesday night to play songs with them, and then we go sit in the river after we'd load out at 2 a.m. You know, but that was the same thing. It starts out as going, man, I hope I can get a show here someday, and we've had a lot of great shows at Green Hall over the past decade now. So hoping I can look forward another 10 years down the road and many shows at the Grand Ole Opry.
And you know what Charlie Mattos is going to do?
What?
He's going to sit in the Cumberland right after the show this weekend.
Yeah, I've got my tetanus shot, so I think I'll be fine.
Not recommended.
I'll see you
I
there,
don't know
buddy.
I don't know if the water's all brown in Texas, but it tends to be here. Hey, it's going to be a fun Friday, by the way. Along with John, Riders in the Sky, who just celebrated 42 years as Opry members. Madeline Edwards, who's part of our Opry Next Stage class. Connie Smith, Michael Ray, Ann Wilson, Don Schlitz, Hall of Famer, and Hubby Jenkins going to make his solo debut. But he first played with the Carolina Chocolate Drops back in the day. Yeah, with Rhiannon and our other buddies. So. Should be fun.
I'm going to let you sing What a Cowboy Was. Set that song up for us. Did you write this?
No, What a Cowboy was written by Tony Ramey and Kelly Kenning. I've got my producer in the studio, Dave Brainerd. You guys know Dave. Yeah. Such a great talent.
Usually brings his wife.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and such a talented producer. And we worked, all three of us, me, Dave, and Tony, were kind of this creative team on the last record, Dos Corazones, where we wrote it out in Terlingua and recorded it here. We wrote predominantly that entire album out in the desert. It was something really cool. And so we've kind of kept this little team together, and Dave and Tony and I got together and started writing new stuff. So we've got a bunch of new stuff we've recorded. There's not necessarily a, I'm kind of a album concept album guy. So far, there's not necessarily that. We're just doing a lot of stuff that we love. And
Redheaded Stranger's already been done.
Okay.
Just wanted to point that out.
Dang it.
Willie
Yeah,
Nelson.
that Willie guy.
He thinks of everything.
Yeah, he's got it all. But Tony was playing What a Cowboy Was, a song that he wrote, and Dave and I looked at each other and we're like, where'd that come from? And I guess he wrote it like 20 years ago, and we just love the song, love the message, and Dave put a little special kind of cinematic feel to it, and we're really proud of this recording.
I introduced Kelly Kenning the first time he ever played the KKYX River Festival in San Antonio at the Arneson
awesome.
River Theater 1,000 years ago.
I love Kelly. I love Kelly.
It's Jon Wolfe. Now, I don't know if you have a bar, but you do have a tequila. Juan Lobo Tequila.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the tequila business.
Yeah, well, we are officially open in Tennessee.
Yay.
Yeah, it's Tennessee's tough. Obviously, there's a lot of brands here, but the tequila brand's been around for 5 years now. I've kind of hoofed this thing, and we're really proud of it. You can go to juanlobotequila.com to check it out. I know we did see the Colonial in Franklin has some Juan Lobo tequila, but we're slowly getting it into Tennessee.
Okay.
And 100% blue agave, good stuff. I have actually really built the brand in the company, so spent a lot of time in Mexico.
How'd you choose the name?
Jon Wolfe, Juan Lobo.
Yeah.
Went right over my head.
Oh, and the logo on the bottle is so cool.
Thank you.
It really is great.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
got a little sombrero and
Yeah.
a wolf/dog guy.
He's cool looking.
And
He is cool. I like him. I like him.
Yeah, that's
And
great
as
merch.
cool as that is, what's in the bottle is even better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you
Well,
you had me at pouring doubles for free. I mean,
Okay.
I'm your steady right there. I'm your customer.
All right. A couple of side notes. You and Hayes Carl roomed together?
We did. Yeah. I've got a crazy history. Yeah.
That was in Houston?
Yeah.
Because
So,
you were a Wall Street guy, right?
kind
Oil
of
trader?
Wall Street. Yeah. So I grew up in Oklahoma, and then at the time, I tell a lot of people at the time, growing up in Miami, being around country music, and of course Garth Brooks was the biggest thing ever, right? That was my first hero, was Garth. You don't really know how to do it. You're kind of going, where's Nashville? What's that? And so I had a bunch of interests. I love the outdoors, and I love the idea of business. And so I went to college at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. Somehow earned a finance degree. Not sure, but I did it. And I got hired by BP, British Petroleum, right out of college. They actually gave me a contract before I graduated. And the day I graduated, I moved to Chicago, and I was working on the U.S. Oil Americas trading floor.
Wow.
I was part of what's called a global distillate trading team. So we traded, predominantly my team traded jet fuel and that type of thing, but we hedged on the New York Mercantile Exchange. And I was sort of on that career path to be a oil trader. And we had a very successful team, and I just felt like I did try to put together a band in Chicago, and I failed miserably. I couldn't find any country players at the time, but I was sort of on that path, and they transferred me to Houston, and I started playing open mic nights, and next thing you know, I met Hayes Carl, and from that point, coming to Nashville was actually pretty quick, only within a few years, and I left my job, and here I am,
So when do you wind up on a tour bus at Alabama, an Alabama concert with Teddy Gentry and John Rich.
Yeah, that was around that time. And, I had been playing, again, all through college. All of my buddies would say, man, John, you got to do this, man. You got a great voice. You could be a country singer. And I'm like, what do you mean? How do you do it? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. I know I've got a job coming up, And so I think it just a lot of years of playing for friends. And I met some folks that worked for Louis Messina, the big concert promoter in Houston. And they said, John, would you like to come to the Alabama show? And I said, okay. So I go to the Alabama show. Somehow I end up on their bus, and John Rich is sitting there, and I had enough guts or Miller Lite or something, I don't know, to pick up a guitar and play Much Too Young, the early Garth Brooks single, and I felt like, and John said, man, that sounds great, man. They sound great. And I felt like that was the first thing that I thought, well, if he likes it, maybe I could do this. It gave me some confidence.
So what you got?
Okay, let's talk about Kane Brown. Changing diapers this morning. Congratulations, Kane Brown. Baby number 3 is here. His name is Crew, Krewe, Crew Allen Brown. He was born on the 18th. They are now a family of 3. Crew joins big sisters Kingsley Rose, who is 4, and Cody Jane, who is 2. Man, they are every 2 years, the 2-year plan. But he finally got a boy. He's been a girl dad for a while, and little Crew is here. They are cute as can be. Kane actually has a show scheduled tonight, Summerfest in Milwaukee, and then he has another show on Saturday, and then he has a little bit of time off. So I don't know if baby came early and they were trying to schedule. He's going to do probably these 2 shows and then go home.
Last night was the anniversary of Alan Jackson canceling an Opry appearance to be at the hospital for the birth of his daughter. I think is it Maddie?
Maddie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was Maddie's birthday last night. So that was one of my look backs in history. So when you said Kane,
so
that was great.
Yeah,
I was just thinking, awesome. Kelly called it the 2-year plan, where you have a child every 2 years.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, it was called the Catholic Rhythm Method.
Oh.
That's what that was
Well,
called.
that's faster than 2 years.
Most of the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I only have one, so clearly I'm not familiar.
No, as do I. Yes.
Hey, we are sending some well wishes out this morning. Mark Chestnut, he had to go through an emergency quadruple bypass. Scary stuff. He was actually canceling some shows back in November, had some health issues, and he went on social media to say, I had to cancel some upcoming shows. I send all my love and gratitude to family and friends, to the band, to the fans. Thanks for your understanding, your prayers and support. I look forward to seeing you again soon at a honky tonk near you. Again, quadruple bypass surgery. So we'll keep you up to date when we get more from what's going on with Mark Chestnut. Okay, there's only one artist that's been on the top of the country albums chart longer than Morgan Wallen. And this artist had a 27-year head start. We talked about it earlier this morning. I'm not going to ask for your guesses because you guys already know the answer. The answer is Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks has been atop that chart for 173 weeks. But Morgan Wallen is closing in fast. In fact, if he continues his #1 streak and it remains uninterrupted, he will surpass Garth by Thanksgiving.
And it was this date, first day of summer, 1991, that Garth Brooks, #1 on the U.S. country album chart with Rope in the Wind.
Yeah.
He replaced Garth Brooks and No Fences to get there. He was there a combined 18 weeks at #1.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, so
And that was 91.
you're wondering like who's in the top 10, right? Garth is #1, Morgan is #2.
I thought George Strait and Taylor Swift, and you mentioned, who was your guest, Charlie? Luke Combs?
Luke Combs, yeah.
Okay, so Taylor, yes. Luke, yes. Also top 10, Alabama, Willie Nelson,
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers, and Shania Twain. They're all in the top 10. So I don't know.
No
the
George
full-
Strait?
I don't know. I don't see George on here, but I'm sure he's probably up there. Luke Combs is showing up really strong. He was on for 89 weeks, and Taylor Swift 101 weeks.
Dolly comes to mind, too.
I would say Dolly's probably
with the length
up
of her
there.
career.
It has to be.
And Willie's got a brand new album called The Border out.
Right. How is Willie not at the top of it? He's outlive, outlast, outplay, something like that. Survivor, right? That's basically what's happening. Okay, very fun viral moment that happened at the George Strait, speaking of concert. This was the record-setting George Strait concert, if you will, at Kyle Field. Over or nearly 111,000 people were there. Katie Offerman was opening, so we were just talking about her.
Third and Lindsley tonight with Jon Wolfe.
That's right. So during Check Yes or No, this sweet man, he's standing there. We're seeing the video, and he's got a piece of paper, and he's got it wadded up. And at the very last part, he hands it to her, and he hands her a pen.
Oh, because she's got a check, right?
And so she checks yes. She said yes at the very end of Check Yes or No.
Now, when I was a kid growing up, sitting in the back, as far back as we could in the church while my daddy preached, and we would write those little notes to our girlfriends and say, check yes, no. But I always had a maybe.
Maybe was in there, yeah.
Because I needed an out.
Yeah.
I will tell you,
I was tender-hearted.
Anytime I got one of those, I always checked maybe. Because
Hard to get. It's playing hard to get.
90% of the time it was going to be a no, but I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So I'm like, maybe. And then I just run away the other direction, sadly.
What was the thing called that you kind of made out of paper?
Fortune teller.
That's what it is.
I can still do those.
Oh, I can never make one.
Yeah,
of
we'll
those.
make one.
Yeah.
We'll see
Lily
what
has
happens.
just learned. That's come
Okay.
into her life in the last few months.
Yeah.
Last
my
story for
granddaughter.
everybody. This is the one that's painful, and we can't quit looking at it. It's Hardy getting a bottom lip tattoo. So right there, where you pull your lip out.
Do that
right
again.
there.
That is such a good look on
Isn't that
you.
pretty? Look at that.
Like that.
So right there. Yep, that's what he got. Jim Bob, 2 words, bottom of his lip. Why? Well, it is the title of his latest single, and his wife responded. This was my favorite part. His wife commented, "So now I'm kissing Jim Bob."
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Can we go back to albums for just a second? Willie Nelson, 100 studio albums, 75 solo studio albums, 26 collaborative studio albums, 14 live albums, 51 compilation albums, 41 video albums, as well as albums for the soundtracks of The Electric Horseman and Honeysuckle Rose. Do it, Willie Nelson!